Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, brought to you by VoteProPot.com. Congress has scheduled hearings to discuss ending marijuana prohibition. We have an update on the grand Poobah of the First Church of Cannabis. A pro golfer is the first to get suspended for weed. We've got some news out of Oklahoma to talk to you about. And Harvard is exploring cannabis as a medicine for poorer nations. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to VoteProPot-Cast. I'm Phil Adams.
I'm Jay Britton.
And I'm Andrew McCready.
And we have these stories and a lot more. But first, we have gotten an email from a listener, and Jay's going to share that with us. And it's sparking a pretty interesting conversation, wouldn't you say, Jay?
Yeah, we got an email this week from a guy named James Russell, and he lives in Texas. And he talks about the fact that he's trying to get involved in Texas and obviously get legalization. At least people start paying attention. Of course, Texas is one of those very red states, very anti-cannabis. I think the biggest problem is probably Texas does not have a ballot initiative, referendum, law. So they have to go through the legislature, which is virtually impossible in that state. So he explains his condition. He has a medical condition. I won't get into that. But what I found interesting, he says, I have contacted my officials and voiced my opinion and concerns to have legalization in our state. First of all, way to go, James, right? That's what it takes.
Very good, yeah.
He sent a letter, okay? Sent a letter to Ted Cruz's office. The response I received was not what I expected. Ted Cruz's response was that he appreciated me contacting him, but the form letter goes on to say that he personally does not think cannabis should be legal. And then he goes to say, James says, what does that have to do with anything? Whether you think personally it should be legal or not, that's not the point of my letter or the point of me trying to get this legalized. You represent
the majority of the people who elected him.
Exactly.
Want it legal.
Right. That's what he's saying. So anyway, thanks, James, first of all, for your letter. He says he really enjoys the show. He gets a good laugh out of it. Mostly, thanks for doing what we're trying to encourage people to do, and that is get involved. Right, Phil?
Absolutely. We want everybody to be as informed and as involved as they would like to or can be, and this is very encouraging. Now, I should mention that, Ted Cruz may not be the best guy to go to on this, because he's representing Texans to the national government,
right,
to the U.S. Congress.
Exactly. As a senator, right.
His beef is with the state legislature of Texas. So I'm sure James has probably contacted the state legislators or his state legislator. And James, if you haven't, that's probably the way to go. Getting that response from Ted Cruz was probably pretty predictable. Yeah. He's not going to be on board with this, and he'll probably be the last one in Congress to vote for it.
I'm afraid so.
But that's Congress, and so the place you really need, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, on this, but when it comes to state initiatives, you really need to get with the state legislators and the like.
Absolutely. Definitely want to, because they're the ones that are going to pass the laws. But it doesn't hurt to lobby your national representatives either.
Oh, sure.
Now, the thing about Ted Cruz, I would definitely go after your state, but don't give up on him. The more he hears it, the sooner he's going to eventually vote for it. So the options are, I definitely feel just keep on, be a thorn in his side. Just keep on after Ted. Whatever you do with your state legislature, CC a copy, send a copy to Ted Cruz's office as well. But he's doing a great job, and I understand. I read that's
James
email he gave.
Right?
James, I read his email, and he's suffering from medical issues about his lungs. And the problem is he wants cannabis as medicine. He says it's very effective for him, but he can't smoke it, And in Texas, edibles aren't for sale. I mean, there's no legal way to get them. And so what he needs to do, he needs to learn how to take dry flower and turn it into something that's edible.
Into an extract.
Where you can eat it, drink it, what have you. But more power to him, And,
right.
I'll tell you what, Maryland's got a great medical marijuana industry, so move to Maryland.
There you go.
Yeah, we'd love to have you, James.
Most of all, we'd like to point out listeners who are doing the right thing, right? Getting involved, reaching out, at least taking the time to send a letter to your representatives, make a phone call, go to our website and hit the Take Action button tab, and it gives you some great info on how to reach out to your congresspersons, your senators, your local legislators, Congress. So get involved.
Right. And Andrew, to your point, I think you're right. Just because somebody is on the conservative side or initially not on board with this, don't give up on them. Force them to see the issue from a different point of view. And the more people contact them, the better that will be.
Right. Exactly. Now, for example, in Oklahoma, they wanted to start a medical marijuana industry, and they approached the legislature with really, really conservative regulations. I mean, they said no product more than 10% THC. I mean, they were willing to really, give it all up. And the legislature said, no, that's not strict enough for us. We don't want that. So they said, okay, we'll do a ballot initiative. So they passed a ballot initiative for a full medical marijuana program, and it passed. And it passed easily. It flew through. And then what happened was the state legislature said, yes, okay, it passed, but we're going to rewrite it, to legislate to regulations that we think there should be, not this, free industry. And the governor said, you can't do that. Or the state legislature said,
you had your chance to negotiate, right?
You had your chance.
Right, they took it to court.
And now Oklahoma is set to have one of the best medical marijuana industries in the country.
Can you believe that?
So, okay, as of Monday, they now have approved 146,000 people as licensed patients, which is huge.
No way.
Which is huge.
Yeah, that really is.
That's ridiculous.
Right. They also,
and that's good.
That's Oklahoma.
They licensed 958 caregivers, right? In addition to that, the agency approved 330 licensed growers, 1,600 dispensaries, and 905 processors.
Jeez.
So apparently, if you apply for it, I guess you're not allowed to grow massive. You're going to get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Way to go, Oklahoma.
Way to go, Oklahoma. Amazing.
So basically, 3.5% of the state are now registered patients. That's huge. That is huge.
Wow.
That is.
Wow. That's a big, and Texas is neighbor to Oklahoma. So some of that hopefully will spill over. Yeah. Well, good luck to you, James. And thanks for your email, and stay in touch and let us know how things go. We want to hear back from you. And we also have some movement on the national level. Jay, tell us a little about that.
Well, Congress announced that they're going to have hearings this week to discuss ending marijuana prohibition. So that's kind of huge. A major congressional subcommittee will hold a hearing on marijuana policy next week, that being this upcoming week, on July 10th, actually. According to Marijuana Moment, this is by Kyle Jager with Marijuana Moment, a great website, great news website for cannabis stuff. The House Judiciary Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security Subcommittee is expected to discuss various legislative proposals to allow states to set up their own cannabis policies without fear of the federal intervention. Goes on to explain it, but what I find most interesting, they list some of the witnesses that are going to speak at this hearing, and they include a guy named Malik Burnett, who's a physician at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, who previously served as a Washington, D.C. policy manager at the Drug Policy Alliance. The Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, who announced in January that her office would no longer prosecute cannabis possession cases. David Nathan, a physician and board president of the pro-legalization group Doctors for Cannabis Regulation, will also appear. But what I found most interesting about this list is that the minority party, the Republican Party, is inviting one person to testify. And who they have invited is a man named Neil Levine, who is a CEO of the Cannabis Trade Federation. So that's really interesting. In other words, he's pro-cannabis. So the minority party's witness will be a pro-cannabis. So essentially everybody testifying will be pro-cannabis. So keep your eyes on this.
So the Republicans are saying the guy we're sending in is going to talk about setting up an industry.
That's right. Right.
So they're going to be more pro-big business. Yeah. Is that what the Republicans are saying?
Yeah, exactly. Notably,
and that is not at all surprising.
No, but what is a little surprising,
or necessarily a bad thing. I think is it good or is it bad? I don't know.
If you read the tea leaves here, it's pretty encouraging for those of us who are pro-reform because there really isn't anybody on the list who's coming up to say, we don't want cannabis reform. Essentially what the hearings are set up to come up with are regulations and laws, as I understand it, which would say the federal government's going to stay out of it and let the states do their thing. So if Oklahoma comes up with a legal program, that's their program, and the feds aren't going to infringe. It's a state rights issue.
So we're basically back to where we were during the Obama administration.
Somewhat, yeah. Somewhat,
but I think
this time it's going to be legal. This time it's going to be set in law.
Right.
Instead of
just policy.
Just policy.
Or instead of presidential
executive order. Yeah.
Prerogatives.
Executive order.
I think that there is a certain amount of progress. I mean, there's this whole conversation would have been unthinkable not too many years ago.
Absolutely.
So that in itself, I think, is progress. And now all of it is kind of, not all of it, but a certain amount of it is kind of moot until they can deschedule it.
I think that's true, but this is a huge step in the right direction.
But it's a step in a really
it's essentially a states' rights issue saying, okay, as the feds, we're going to step back and let the states decide how you're going to handle cannabis law. It's up to you.
And you would think the Republicans would be behind the states' rights issue.
They are. Well, this makes it clear they are. Well, the article closes out by saying, notably, every single...
is Jeff Sessions going to be testifying at this hearing?
I think Jeff Sessions is out of work.
Yeah. He's looking for work right now. He's a little busy.
Well, he's looking for something to do. He knows where to park.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit what he has to say.
Okay, let me finish this out. Notably, every single Democratic member of the full Judiciary Committee, including the chairman, voted in favor of amendment protecting cannabis programs in all U.S. state territories in Washington, D.C. from Justice Department intervention last month. 6 Republican members of the panel joined them in support of the measure, which was attached to spending legislation that has since cleared the House. The bipartisan nature of that vote indicates that further reform legislation stands a very strong chance of passing the committee.
All right. So movement.
Absolutely.
Right.
Good stuff. Well, don't let up, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time to be the most vigilant, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
I think if one of your congressmen is on the Judiciary Committee, or even if not, let them know how you feel. There's all kinds of ways to get involved and have your voice heard, and we list a lot of them on our website. Check us out at VoteProPot.com.
You can contact us on the contact page of that website. Send us a note. Let us know what you think of the show. Give us ideas. Or you can send us an email, podcast@VoteProPot.com.
And please like and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and now Instagram. Just do a search for VoteProPot.
Last month, actually in May, Harvard Medical School held the 2019 Global Health Catalyst Summit, which is an annual conference that's focused primarily on reducing health disparities, access disparities around the world. Part of that was the launching of the International PhytoMedicine Institute from Harvard. PhytoMedicine, of course, is, for those who don't know, is plant-based medicinal practice that uses plant materials for preventative and therapeutic uses. And, of course, cannabis falls right smack into that category. In fact, it's one of the primary plants that the International Phytomedicines Institute, the IPI, will be studying. The idea is to apply all the science and technology from Harvard, which I imagine is considerable, and partner it with other international educational institutions and private industry to try to convert potential high-impact medicinal plants to really evidence-based pharmaceutical products, pharmaceutical-grade products for global health and economic development. And this is especially needed in poorer nations. Leading the effort, and this is according to weedmaps.com, is Professor Will Noir, who is a director of the Global Health Catalyst at Birmingham and Women's Hospital and Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, both affiliated with Harvard Medical School. And this collaboration is seen as key to providing focused, detailed research into the qualities of cannabis. So I think this is a pretty important initiative being launched by Harvard. There's $6 million that have already been put behind this research, initial commitments, and more funds are expected to come in. So I think they're helping out poorer countries with cannabis-based medicines that can really help them out.
Well, it seems that, especially in these developing countries that lack health care and medicine, there's people dying of and suffering. They have medical-based suffering that they cannot treat. And since cannabis has been used for chronic pain and used to help manage people in pain, it only makes sense. Give these people a cheap, natural way to deal with all this pain and suffering. We're talking millions and millions of people. So it just makes sense to do this. And why everyone on the planet isn't going, yeah, let's give these poor suffering people something that they can grow on their own. This is a wonderful thing.
What I really see in articles like this, when Harvard is involved with these kind of programs, and we see other articles similar, is it adds legitimacy to the whole subject. I mean,
right. Harvard's saying it. Hello,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, this is the first time we talked about Harvard. That Harvard announced a couple of weeks ago, we did a story, that they are saying, screw the law. We're buying, marijuana is legal in Massachusetts. We're just going to start buying it and studying it. If you don't like it, come get us. Send a SWAT team to Harvard. Come on. Yeah. I wonder if that video will go viral.
The coordinator, maybe, Lydia Asana, PhD, who is the coordinator for the Harvard Global Health Catalyst Summit, has been, focusing on this research into cancer and non-communicable diseases, but said researchers at the center are interested primarily in pain management. She says that the major problem is in African countries and Southeast Asian countries. And the problem is that access to pain medication is very limited in these poor and developing countries. 329 tons of morphine equivalent opioids distributed worldwide per year. Only 22 pounds went to low income countries. That's nothing. And so you're absolutely right, Andrew. It's essentially treating the things that we know cannabis can treat, pain being one of them. I think it's a great development, puts a lot of gravitas behind it.
Again, adds legitimacy to the argument.
Right. And we're going to keep an eye on this and follow up when there's new news on this. But, the rest of the world needs pain management too.
Good for Harvard.
Kudos to our friends over at Harvard, right?
Yep. I don't have any friends at Harvard, but...
Well, no, I'm not that smart, so...
No.
When I went to Harvard once for the weekend to visit my cousin, then went to the Yale-Harvard football game. And I remember the people I met there, they just fucking drank. like wild.
Is that right?
I mean, it was insane. I went to this place called Maury's where they had these big like trophy cups filled with alcohol, and you just passed them around, and everyone was singing these songs, and you're chugging away, and it was
So let me get this straight, Andrew. You went to a college campus and there were people drinking?
That's weird.
Yes.
Damn. Unbelievable.
No.
I'm shocked.
These people were taking drinking to another level.
Okay.
These were professionals.
And also, that was the first time I ever tried what they called green banana cake.
All right. You got to tell us what green banana cake
This was,
We need to know.
This was cannabis infused cake. It was edible cannabis.
Harvard, huh?
Yeah. Actually, sorry, I took it back. I was at Yale for the Yale-Harvard weekend. So there were people from Harvard there. And it's funny, they had friends. You know, we were partying with some people who came down for the game from Harvard. But, when it came, they left all the conflict on the field. And after at the parties, they didn't give a shit, That's why they at Harvard. They cheer their football team on, but they don't paint their faces and get too crazy about it.
No, they just drink.
Right. And they just drink. And when they scored, every time they scored a touchdown, there was just rain champagne corks. And they scored a touchdown. It was like, pop, 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 pop. It sounded like an automatic weapon, just all these champagne corks.
They can afford it.
Every time they scored champagne.
They're drinking Natty Light at my college.
Well, we have an update. Our longtime listeners will remember Andrew gave us a very interesting story about a fella starting the first church of cannabis. And Jay, you've got an update on that.
Yes, the Grand Poobah. Remember him?
Poobah.
Bill Evan.
Yeah.
I went back and looked it up this morning. It was episode 10, so that's how long ago it was. Episode 10.
Yeah.
Andrew did a story on this guy who started the first cannabis.
We were in our 20s back then.
Yeah, I think we were.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So the Grand Poobah and creator of the first cannabis church was Bill Evan. He has announced that he's running for governor of Indiana as a libertarian. So that's kind of interesting.
All right,
this
Bill.
guy's a character. If y'all haven't seen him, look him up. He's got some videos and stuff. He's a piece of work. He's a pretty interesting guy. Yeah, I mean, so
that's his campaign slogan. Bill Levin. He's a piece of work.
Well, the interesting thing is the Libertarian Party is not putting anyone up against him to run for the nomination, and I think
so. There's no primary challenge in the Libertarian Party.
No, there's no primary challenge, and just to be clear, in the 2016 election, the Libertarians ran a candidate named Rex Bell for governor, and he got a whopping 1.34% of the vote.
Whoa.
Yeah, whopping 1.34. So we'll see what happens.
Whop.
But just for those of you who are interested in the Grand Poobah, that's what he calls himself, by the way. He will be running for governor. Go out and vote for him because
what the hell?
Well, the interesting thing is obviously one of his priorities is cannabis. Well, so that's a good thing. And Indiana has, of course, no legal cannabis. And the biggest issue probably in Indiana is they don't have ballot initiatives. So it ain't going to happen because the legislature's very anti-cannabis. So he says, if I get elected, one of the first things I'm going to do is sign an executive order or however they do it. I really don't know the procedure, but he's going to get ballot initiatives on in Indiana so that, because he said, when they do polling in Indiana, it's like it is everywhere else in the country, 65% pro cannabis. So he feels like that's a good way to get it moving forward. He said, if we were a ballot initiative state, we would have had cannabis legal 10 years ago. But unfortunately, the GOP controls the state and nobody is talking about ballot initiatives. When I'm elected governor, ballot initiatives will be one of the things I'm going to put on point. We will have it so the people of the state can decide what their future is rather than the corporations who buy our politicians. There you go.
Well, there it is. Well, I would suggest to the good folks to the good Hoosiers in Indiana, get on the phone if you are if it's as popular as the polling says that it is,
according to Grand Poobah.
Write your congressman, call him or your state legislator rather, talk to the governor, go to the hearings. get involved and change some minds. That'll make things move probably quicker than the Grand Poobah is talking about. What do you think?
So did they mention how the church is doing?
No, he didn't mention the church. I tell you what, though, it's a pretty interesting story. If y'all want to hear it, Andrew does a great story on it. Episode 10, look it up and take a listen. And
Andrew lists the 10 commandments.
Yeah, that's right.
That Bill Levinas came up with. They're great. The first one is, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, don't be an asshole. Yeah.
Don't be an
Thou
asshole.
shalt not be an asshole.
Thou shalt not be an asshole, yeah.
Right. So there's
which actually I kind of agree with.
Yeah, I can sign up for that.
Now if you want to make laws based on religion, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
We go from religion to sports. There are some professional sports that are starting to move in the right direction as far as cannabis use among the athletes.
That's true. The NFL and the NBA are both talking seriously about allowing their players to use.
Right.
Hockey as well.
But apparently Pro Golf Tour is not one of them.
Okay, so apparently the first pro golfer to get a cannabis suspension says the PGA needs to change its pot policies. Apparently Robert Garrigus is back on the green after becoming the first golfer to get suspended by the PGA for cannabis. And now he's fighting the drug policies. He said, every single guy I've talked to thinks this is absolutely ridiculous, which is true. I mean,
it's golf.
Who says, oh, man, we can't have weed in golf, man? No, man.
No, it is ridiculous.
So apparently, right now the PGA bans the use of cannabis on tour. And he had apparently had either been caught before or had been known that he had been using. And so he said, when he got suspended, he said, oh, I had a relapse or whatever.
A relapse. It's golf.
Right. So apparently he said he's been using it for pain management. He has a bad, I think, back and a knee. So, I mean, that's what he's probably used in a topical, maybe a vape pen.
Maybe a blunt.
So he just says it's ridiculous. Now he's meeting with the commissioner, Jay Monahan, and they're going to discuss the topic, because, actually a lot of these, the thing about cannabis is really good for the topicals for joint pain. From what I understand now, they have these patches now that they say are really good for ankle and knees,
I can attest to that.
Right.
Yeah, me too.
And apparently I understand of the injuries you get playing golf, it's shoulders and knees and elbows and maybe a hip,
Backs.
Right.
Or back.
Well, a lot of them have back.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
just,
back.
From years of swinging a club,
Right.
And how is cannabis a performance-enhancing drug in golf? I mean,
yeah, right.
It's golf. It's taking a walk.
So anyway,
yeah. I mean, do you ever see that video of Tiger when he got pulled over when he was like high as shit on some kind of painkillers?
Yeah.
If the guy just smoked a joint, it would have been cool. It went viral.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had a problem.
But no.
It looks like I don't think it's going to be. It's not a huge controversy or scandal, but I think this is a great example of guys. Let's be serious about this. This is golf.
Yeah.
These are grown guys.
Right.
They're all responsible because being an individual sport. I mean, these guys they're athletes, and and if that's what they need to manage their pain, why the fuck not?
What do you care? Do you think you'll ever watch a golf match on TV and see them walking around with a joint in their hand?
No, maybe a vape pen.
If they followed us on the golf course, they would see.
No,
that.
but on being on golf courses, I've seen plenty of people smoking weed over the last 40 years.
Yeah,
I've seen people smoke weed on golf courses, and it
How
is
often
huge.
You're on
man.
a golf course and you smell weed in the air, and you're like,
I mean, I know it was like 5 years before the Maryland medical program. I knew some guys that are big time into golf. I'm not, but they're big time into it, and all those guys all had their vape pens. They had Colorado vape pens, man. Yeah. Well, all of them, they're all belong to country clubs. They all got like tons of money, and they're traveling a lot. They know people all over the place. And the golf community is kind of, tight knit. And some guy, probably had a private plane, lives in Colorado, comes plays golf on the West Coast, on the East Coast every month, Which brings up the whole gray market, which is the topic we're going to be discussing next week about how legalizing weed is actually giving a boost in some ways to the black market. Or actually the gray market is what it is.
The gray market, yeah.
It's actually supercharged the gray market.
It's summertime, folks, and your next barbecue could be infused with fun.
Will be, but
now, what is when you think of barbecues, you think of hamburgers, hot dogs, ribs, chicken. What goes with all of those things?
Weed?
Well, the answer is condiments.
Oh.
You got to put stuff on them.
Sure.
Ketchup, mustard, mayo, barbecue sauce.
Right.
Well, this article from Leafly is all about how cannabis-infused condiments can elevate your next barbecue while giving your fellow barbecuers the discretion to dose themselves. Now, each of the recipes on this article are designed to be low dose. Okay, so 8 milligrams of THC or less per serving. Take it up a notch with a little bit of cannabis infusion, your honey mustard. Give a little zip to your dogs and burgers. Mayo, barbecue sauce, and even salad dressing. There's a recipe here for Green Goddess salad dressing. To infuse your greens and avocados and fresh herbs.
Well, when you infuse THC into a food product, you need to like piggyback it onto a fat molecule or an alcohol molecule so the body absorbs it. Now, first, you have to decarboxylate it. There's a million videos on YouTube on how to decarboxylate. We talked about it earlier. It's if you're living in a state where you can't get medical, you're going to have to go through that process, decarboxylating it. But mayonnaise, which is just basically oil,
right?
Right.
So
it attaches really well.
Well, it would work great. But the trouble is with condiments, it's like how much do you use? I mean, you said a single portion is 8 milligrams. Is that like a tablespoon of ketchup? And 8 milligrams that's sort of a fair amount. So if you did double that, did 16. There's some people 16 milligrams would get them wasted. There's some people could easily handle it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the problem.
But, I mean, why not just eat a gummy before you have your hamburger? That seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, well, you know what it is? No, it's cannabis cuisine. That's what this is. Now, when it comes to edibles, you have your ingestibles, which are like medicines. Tinctures, just gummy bears or tablets or chewables. And then you have your edibles, which are like cookies and brownies. But then you have this cannabis cuisine, which are like salads infused with. Have infused truffle oil, and they'll use it. They actually use the flavors to add to it, not necessarily the buzz. And they're doing some fascinating things with fresh leaves and all different extracts and stuff. Now, your party the other day, remember that spinach pie, the spanakopita I made?
Yeah, it was delicious.
That wasn't spinach.
Oh, come on now.
No, it was spinach. I was going to. That tray.
You're fucking with me. Because I had a lot of that.
Right, that tray would have cost me $800, But
and we've talked about edible etiquette. I mean, like you said a couple weeks ago, it's not cool to dump this on somebody without telling them.
Oh no, you never.
That's just not
dose
cool.
someone secretly. That's wrong.
No. Yeah, that's wrong.
That's bullshit.
That's like Bill Cosby stuff. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what we're talking about is 8 milligrams or less per tablespoon. And so, and that's about how much ketchup you'd put on a burger or give or take how much mayo you'd use per deviled egg or whatever. But if you have these condiments on the side in the little squeeze bottles and you just inform your guests that that's exactly what they are, let them.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Let them have at it.
Yeah. Well,
just don't.
The thing about it, the only way you'll only get these by making them yourselves.
That's right.
I don't think they're sold anywhere, because what happens is when you do sell edibles, like the rules in Canada and in a lot of states in the United States, is that each packet can only have 10 milligrams of THC in it. So it's easily controlled. So it's harder for people to overserve themselves. So what you need are those little ketchup packets. Right. That's what you need. Here's a ketchup packet with 5 milligrams THC in it. Bam, you know exactly what you get. Now, there's an idea. The other thing I'm waiting for is, and someone's got to do it. You know, I don't think I'm the only person with the idea, and that's infused coffee creamer. You know, or those little, the little, like little K-cup plastic, single, like 1 ounce cups. You know, it has 5 milligrams in it. It could be a hazelnut flavored or whatever. It'd be almond milk or coconut milk or soy product. Doesn't have to be dairy.
Right.
And, 5 milligrams, and you can put it in your coffee. You can put it in your smoothie. You can put it in your tea. You can put it in your White Russian, or any kind of, like we mix it with Baileys or something, some kind of cream drink.
That's starting a day.
That's what I think you'll start seeing in stuff like this. Because if I went to a party and they had those, like, oh, sure, I'll put 2 of those in my coffee or my drink, and there you go, that'd be cool. But have it like a big bowl going, there's THC in there, go for it. Even I, an experienced person, will go, be careful with that.
Yeah.
Because shit's going to hit the fan in about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it may not be good. Willie Nelson's new brand, they came out with some pre-rolls. Now, he has launched some cannabis products that are like ultra-high THC, super high-quality stuff. But he came out with these pre-rolls that are all CBD. There's no THC in them. Mm-hmm. So cool. People are using these to quit smoking. But 5 are like $30. So,
Whoa.
So it's not, But,
well, to save your lungs, it's worth it, right?
Right. So they want to, so I was thinking about this one time because I read an article that smoking, marijuana doesn't hurt the lungs like tobacco does, and it's not doesn't have nicotine in it, so it's nowhere nearly as addictive, So I thought, why don't they just make hemp cigarettes, so people, as an alternative to smoking, people can quit, because if it's not that addictive, you could put them down easy.
Right.
But now in North Carolina, they're trying to pass a law that says hemp cigarettes are illegal. You can't do it.
Why?
Well, that sounds good. It's like CBD. It's like, well, why not? Well, because North Carolina, the
tobacco industry.
Tobacco owns the state. That's why.
The lobby.
That's the only thing I can think of. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think you're absolutely right, Andrew, because if you look at the history and this better than any of us, it really all had to do with commercial ism. It was commerce. It had very little to do with getting high.
Right. And you're talking about prohibition in general. That's right.
Right.
It was all about money.
That's what it is. But, I think it's not a bad idea, and I think Willie may be on to something here. Yeah. So
more power to him.
We'll keep our eyes on that. There's another application for hemp that a lot of people probably haven't even thought of. Has to do with 3D printing.
Yes, that's right. Now you can 3D print with hemp. So apparently, if you like the idea of 3D printing and dislike but dislike the use of plastics, because all 3D printers, or most of them that I'm aware of, use plastic. Now there's a healthy optional, and that's where they're using hemp. Now they're taking hemp filament and they're mixing a little bit of plastic with it, I believe. But because of this mixture, for one, it doesn't have to be as hot, so you don't have to have like heat plates underneath it.
Right.
It's biodegradable. It warps a little bit, has a warping tendency, which is something that I guess concern them. But for a lot of applications, this will work great. There's no artificial dyes and colors, so it has that light beige hemp color.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think geeks, because I think the 3D printers is the future, and this is really cool. I think that I'm going to run out and buy one of these tomorrow.
Well, I want to come over and make a whistle or something with it.
A whistle?
Well, yeah, a biodegradable whistle, or
cool.
No, what you need to do, you use it to make building blocks that are sort of like Lego-esque, that sort of fit together.
Well, did you read that Lego has committed to making their Lego pieces out of hemp by the year? Oh, shit, I don't have it in front of me. It was like 2030 or something.
Yeah.
So sometime in the next 10 years.
Go Lego.
Yeah. They're going to make them all out of recyclable hemp.
That's cool. I also read a thing where Lego's working with some companies, and they're making these big pieces, and they're building like buildings out of it. They're doing some big museum exhibit, but I don't know. I think I think hemp in construction is going to be huge one day. It really will be.
Definitely.
Well, hempcrete, we had an article about that in a past episode.
Yeah.
That's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of concrete cinder blocks, we've got hempcrete that are actually better.
It's stronger than concrete and the cinder. The hempcrete cinder block, hempcrete block, I should call it. They did the test where they took a regular cinder block, which we know, if you ever held one, it's like thousands of little pieces, little rocks fused together. Now they took one that's a regular cinder block and dropped it off a 2-story building, and it landed on concrete and busted into 1,000 pieces.
Right.
They did this. They took the hempcrete block and dropped it off the building, and it bounced. It's just so much stronger, and it's lighter. It's like mildew resistance. I mean, there's just and it gets stronger with age, and it's just insane. So,
yep. So there's got to be a market for that, and it's got to grow at some point. You would think if it's that.
So what we need to do, and they can do this, but it's expensive because there's not that much hemp out. So we need. I wonder if we can find this farmers that can start growing millions of acres of hemp. So we can start doing these things, start building things.
Well, that would be okay with me.
Yep.
I'd be on to that. I have plans later in the summer to head out to the beach. And, of course, I'll be traveling by car. I don't know if you guys have got any big road trips planned for the summer. But, and probably many of our listeners do, how should they handle the dubage on their car journeys, Jay?
Well, Leafly's got an article by Ted Anderson this month, and it says how to travel with weed in your car. And it's kind of interesting in that in most legal states, cannabis is treated in terms of having it in your car, on your person, much like open container laws for alcohol. But the difference is the financial impact. For example, in some states, if you get pulled over and you have a beer, let's say there's someone in your back seat has an open beer, but you're sober. Cop does a check. You're not drunk. You don't have any alcohol on your breath. You get a ticket for $25, maybe $50.
Okay.
But in most legal states, the fine is around $500 for cannabis. The problem is every state has different laws, and they listed in this article. It's great. Go look it up on Leafly. I'm not going to read every state. It would just take too long. But essentially, like I said, it's treated as open container law. But what they recommend at the end of the article is whatever state you're in, if you've got weed, put it in your trunk. That's your safest bet. If a cop pulls you over, a lot of it is dependent on the cop, the individual cop, and what his personality is, how he is as an individual. And they tell some different stories here. A guy gets pulled over and he's got, a little vial of packaged legal weed on his car seat, and the cop harasses him for hours, tells he's going to arrest him, all this shit. So it really is up to the cop in a lot of cases. But some states are much more lenient than others. One of the most lenient is actually, I believe, Maine. States differ on allowable quantities, basically from 1 ounce to 2.5. So you can have up to 1 ounce on you. But almost every state, the legalities are it can't be within reach of the driver. So in a lot of cases, it can't even be in your glove box. Right. So again, it's best to, if you go to the dispensary and you buy a bunch of weed, put it in your trunk when you're driving home, because if some asshole cop pulls you over and it's sitting on your seat and any of it's been opened, he can make your life miserable.
Right. When you visit the dispensary, when you leave, do not open the package because they're all in a childproof sealed container. Do not open them until you get home.
Don't open it till you get home. That's right, because that'll really put you up.
Even in legal states. Now, I got pulled over on 420. When I was going in between all the dispensaries and doing VoteProPot stuff, and I got pulled over, and now I know cops, and they've told me, here's what you do when you get pulled over by a police officer: get your registration out and your wallet and your driver's license, and put it on the dashboard above your steering wheel. Roll down the window all the way, and if it's at night, you turn on your interior light. You put your hands on the steering wheel, and when the officer, so he comes up, he sees your license and registration there. He can see both your hands. If it's at night, he can see in the car, and you look at her and go, "Good, hello, officer," and be 100% respectful and be nice. And if he does find weed, there's a chance he might go, you can slide. But if you're going, what the fuck you pull me over for? And he finds weed, you're going to jail. You're going. So
that's right, and it says that in the article.
Cooperate. what Jay said, put it in the trunk is great too.
And in fact, years ago, Chris Rock put out a video about how not to get your ass kicked by the police. That's not a bad one to reference.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, I think the things to keep in mind beyond that are very important. Transporting across state lines is federally illegal. So I don't care if you're living in a state and the neighboring state is legal. If you drive across that state line and you get pulled over just across the line and you've got, legal packaged weed from the neighboring state in your car, you're in big trouble. You can be in big trouble.
You're in violation of federal law.
Yeah. Now, if it's in your trunk, you're okay. Well, you're not really okay because you can't transport it, but you have a much better argument. I was going to visit a friend, but don't, if you go to your dispensary, you buy some product, take it home and leave it at home. Don't cross the state lines with it.
Oh, definitely not.
And the third thing to know, and this is especially important for us because we live in the D.C. area, is to be extremely cautious in D.C. because you've got federal authorities. You can possess or transport cannabis weighing, I think, less than 2 ounces in D.C. But the buzzkill is if a federal officer can technically arrest you under federal law for any amount of cannabis, which is crazy. So the U.S. Park Police, if they pull you over, if you do something stupid, they pull you.
Well, but in D.C., a lot of the federal law enforcement agencies only have jurisdiction on federal land.
Well, yes, but there's a lot of federal land. That was my next thing.
Yeah, so you'll be fine if you cross the street and you're step on federal land, you can get arrested.
If you're at the Lincoln Memorial and you're parked, you're on parkland, and you do something stupid, and the cop comes up and you got weed in your car, he can arrest you.
That's right.
Under federal jurisdiction, you're screwed. So be very careful.
Well, when I got pulled over, hello, officer, I did all that, and I'm wearing a VoteProPot T-shirt. There's 3 bags from 3 different dispensaries where I bought something, because every time I went there, I had to buy something. I didn't want, so I bought a gram here, a pre-roll there, whatever. So I had all this illegal weed on the seat next to me, and I'm thinking it's all still. I never opened them. They're still stapled shut. Got the childproof, everything. I never, they handed it to me. I came in, put it in the car. I didn't touch it, Although, the cop was, the big one was a VoteProPot T-shirt. I'm wearing this vote. It's huge. And he was really cool. And I said, he said, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, well, not really. I guess, I didn't notice. And he said, because you're on my license plate, the stickers that say the month and the year of the expiration were inverted. There's one supposed to be on the left, one on the right. Mine, they were inverted.
Oh, you stoner.
And I'm going, man, you've got great eyes.
Figure.
You saw that in traffic? And I looked at him and I said, man, you got great eyes. Enjoy them while you're young there, brother. They're the first to go.
Second.
Yeah.
That's so right. After the memory.
What did he do? Did he let you go, I guess?
Yeah. He was cool. He said you gotta. He goes, I don't know what to do. You might, if you get pulled over, other cops might be a dick about it, but I'm gonna let you go. But just, I don't know. Quite frankly, he said, I really don't know what you do to fix it. I looked into it, and for $5, I can get another sticker and put it on the right side. But then,
what's funny, Andrew, is I call you a stoner for that. I did the exact same thing, and to this day, my stickers are still on the wrong side.
Well, they only send you one for the year. They don't send the month anymore.
I know, and I put it over top of the month. I'm like, fuck, and you cannot get those things off. No way.
Right, for me, I think
they must use super glue.
So your registration is good until month 20 of the year, right?
Okay. Right, yeah,
yeah.
Well, folks, that's, some more helpful hints to make your summer vacation, fun and uneventful in a bad way. So, great tips. So, once again, thanks a lot for making us part of your day. And as always, there's so much going on in your state and on the federal level. Get involved. Stay informed, be active, and one way to do that, jump onto VoteProPot.com and check us out.
Send us an email at podcast@votepropot.com or call our message line 240-257-2441. We'll put you on the show.
And please like and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter.
Tweeter.
I thought I told putty tat.
And please like and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and now on Instagram. Just do a search for VoteProPot.
Wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day. But here I am in New York City, hiding out in Central Park, getting kidnapped by the police today sometime before dark. But I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day. The judge looked down upon me frowning. He said, "Kid, get on your way. Just don't start out your morning with espresso and a J." I said, "I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day." Hitched on out to Portland, caught a ride up to BC, took the bus over to the neighborhood to have a bowl with my coffee. Now I'm up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day. Smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day.